Hey, what's up? Jason here from Unity3D.College. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about working from home and the differences between working from home and working in an office. So if you've never worked from home before, or maybe even never worked in an office, I'll try to go over kind of the benefits and the pitfalls that I see on both sides. Now, I've worked at a bunch of companies, and sometimes they allow for a lot of work at home. Sometimes they work completely remote, and other places, or at other times, they shift into a situation where they want everybody in the office every day, all day. So, well, I guess to start off, I personally really see a big benefit in working from home for more experienced developers. And the reason for that is that you lose out on a lot of the distractions that are really kind of taking away at your time. So think of a normal developer goes into the office, gets there 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on the place. Most game companies tend to start later in the day and they work later in the day. Corporate offices or some other bigger places will start a little earlier. Anyway, so you get in there, and a lot of time the first thing people do is they'll go grab a drink, go grab some coffee, they'll check their emails, they'll start talking to people. People come up and check like, hey, what was going on yesterday? Hey, can we talk about this other thing that happened? Or a lot of time it'll be totally non-work related stuff that's just kind of getting chatted about. And that, from what I've seen, tends to eat up a good half hour to an hour of people's day. Not counting the entire half hour to hour. Some people drive 2 hours to work. It's freaking crazy. But, all of that time leading up is all time that could be spent developing, and it's not. It's spent doing other things, kind of, like I said, coffee, talking, and all that. But then you get into the flow, right? So you get in, it's 9:30, you've been in there for half an hour, you're done talking to people, and you're done checking those emails and replying to them, and then you're in there coding, and 10 minutes later somebody comes by like, hey, I've got a question, or hey, anybody want to go to Starbucks, or hey, some other random thing. It could be any old distraction or interruption, and suddenly your focus is screwed. You've lost it, don't remember what you're working on by the time you get back, and that's another half hour blown, right? Just from people asking a question and distracting you away. At least in my experience, you can easily burn through a lot of time, hours every day of just constant distractions. Now, what are the benefits that you get from being in the office? There are actually a couple good benefits. One is that if you have questions for people, you can generally turn, ask them, get an answer right away. And if they need to help you through something, say you need another programmer to look at your code, tell you why something's not working or how you're supposed to hook this thing up, they can just kind of pull over, start looking at your code, and run you right through it. Of course, in that case, you're the one distracting the other person, and the other person is losing their half hour or their hour or whatever of what they were trying to get done. And we're still kind of hitting that same issue. But I do find, like I said, for junior developers, a lot of value in that, because being able to go around and ask questions and get an answer right away and feeling a little bit more comfortable doing that is really important. I found that junior developers working remotely tend to not ask for help as much as they should. So they tend to just kind of go along, try to figure things out, hack stuff together, and they don't generally just know that they can ask for stuff. And there also aren't people there kind of watching and telling them, hey, this is how you do stuff. Like, hey, I see you're doing this, let me help you and guide you along through that. At least not from what I've seen in most remote situations, especially where the junior person is working remote and other people are working in the office, and it's a big mix. That I think is kind of destined to fall apart, or at least be a lot harder. But then when you get to, a more experienced developer, senior developer who's got a task, they've got a subset of stuff to get done, they know what they need to get done, they know how it works, they know how to code it, they don't really need help going through that process. The productivity of a developer working from home who's actually capable of working from home can be just dramatically higher. Like I said, all of those distractions are gone, and they lose out on the one thing that I think really kind of cuts hours out of the day, and that's that whole desire to go home at a certain time. So I've seen and you've probably seen it too in a lot of workplaces. People are just sitting there, looking at their watch, looking at the clock, just waiting and waiting. And that last hour, maybe even last 2 hours, they're less and less productive. They don't want to start something because they're not going to finish it. They're going to go home, like, hey, I don't want to begin this big task right now because it's 4 o'clock and I'm leaving at 5, or it's 3 o'clock and I'm leaving at 5. I'll just do it tomorrow. If you're working from home, that situation doesn't come up. You're not in a rush for a certain time. If you want to start coding something, you have another task that you need to get done, you just start doing it, and then maybe you take a break, walk off, come back later on in the middle of the night and finish it up whenever, or do it the next day. You don't have that weird time boxing that kind of, like I said, causes people to burn and waste a lot of time. Now, you do have a possible pitfall, or two possible pitfalls, with working from home, even as a senior developer. The first one's just obvious. If you decide that you're just going to slack off, do nothing, play video games, drink and smoke weed all day or whatever else, then you're really not going to get shit done. And eventually people are going to find out and you're going to get fired, right? Now, if you do that one day out of the week and you still get everything done, maybe you'll get away with it. Nobody's going to notice. But you still, you gotta be kind of at least a little bit disciplined. And more importantly, you really have to love what you're doing. Because if you love the type of thing that you're doing, you love to code, you love making games or whatever it is that you're building, you'll be a lot more likely to just sit there and keep going, and you get that little rush of enjoyment when you finish a thing and check it in and it all works and unit test pass or your character blows something up. That's the exciting part. And if you're working for that rush and that excitement, then you'll probably be a lot more self-motivated. Anybody that doesn't enjoy their job or hates their job probably shouldn't work from home, because that's not going to go well. It's not going to last. The other possible pitfall, though, is just overworking. So a lot of developers that I know that work from home work insane amounts of hours and don't realize it. Like, they'll work, 10, 12, 14-hour days and not even notice, because they're just constantly in it. They're, working in the morning a little bit. Maybe they take off, head out to lunch, go play with the kids or whatever, and they come back at night and they keep going and going and going. And that's because you're never leaving the office, right? You're always in the office. You've always got the opportunity to work. And whenever you're thinking like, hey, what should I do now? Well, I could go downstairs and hang out and watch a movie, or go outside and play something. Or I could just finish that one thing I was doing. Like, hey, let me just finish that thing. And then finishing that thing takes 6 hours. You don't realize that it's nighttime. Get up and start the whole process again. And again, that's also somewhat of a side effect of loving what you do too, right? The developers who don't really love what they're doing may not fall into that issue of accidentally working insane amounts of hours. But if you are one of those, you really just have to keep an eye on it and keep track of your time. Just start tracking how much time you're spending on each thing. If you're working on multiple projects, you should already be doing that. But if you're working on a single project, just start chunking out your time and keeping track of how much you're actually working, and make sure that you're not just burning yourself out and going overboard or anything. But I think in general, if you're experienced and you're working from home and your team isn't horrible with communication, like you can email people or message them on Skype or Slack or whatever it is that you use in your company, working from home will just give you a big productivity boost in general. Again, assuming the person is really interested, loves what they're doing, and knows what to do. And it also just gives a big boost to morale. Right? Everybody that I know, let's put it this way, I don't know anybody that works from home that says, I work from home and I hate it. Or I work from home and I hate my job. I don't want to do it anymore. Because, like I said, the people that work from home and hate their job, they get fired. Because they just don't do their job. The people that work from home in general, though, are happier. They love what they're doing. They're kind of excited to get stuff done, at least from what I've seen personally. And it's just an all-around better environment, assuming that you don't need to learn. Now, I'm saying all this, and it's reminding me just a little bit, though, of the mob programming. So I did a video not too long ago when I went and visited my friends that do a lot of mob programming. In fact, their whole system is set up where, if you haven't seen the video, go check it out. But it's essentially 3 to 5 developers per system all working together on a project, just constantly rotating off the keyboard. And it's a shitload of fun. Like, if you love to code, it's a lot of fun. I had a blast doing it. And in a perfect environment, I might do that once a week. Just like go in, do some mob programming once a week, and then work from home every other day, or do that remotely just to get that extra interaction with other developers. And again, for new developers, super important. I would recommend a setup like that instead of working from home. But after you've got 4 or 5 years in there and you know your way around, see if you can work remote. Try it out. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. It'll make your life a little bit better, and you probably be surprised at just how much more productive you are at home than at work. Like I said, there are distractions at home, sure, kids, dogs, your spouse, whatever, but it's nowhere near the level of distraction that you see at work and just don't realize because it's the normal at work. So try it out. Try working from home. Hopefully you love it as much as I do. And if you have some thoughts on it, or you hate working from home or had some terrible experiences with it, I'd love to hear those as well. I've seen some pretty terrible experiences, like I said, with people who didn't really love their jobs too much or whatever. Things going like crazy. So if you got some interesting stories like that, I'd love to see those down below too, or just any feedback on this at all. All right, anyway, I'll quit rambling now, but thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that fun stuff, and have a great day.